Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Thursday night. Lovely to have you guys here for this episode of the Primetime Show. Will Levis was in studio at 104.5 The Zone, where I do my radio show with my friends on 3HL for an hour today. They covered a lot of ground. You're going to hear a part of that conversation. And in particular, one part that stuck out to me that is going to be critical to Will Levis's success in Brian Callahan's offense that dates back to his college days. So we will play a portion of that conversation for you. You'll get to hear from Will Levis himself. We'll also talk about an idea that was floated out there about a quarterback salary cap. The NFL having ownership discussions, at least just generally, about a percentage of the salary cap being capped for quarterback contracts. So quarterbacks could only make up to X percentage of a team's salary cap in some initial discussions because the numbers are going crazy. You've got Trevor Lawrence making $55 million, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, as I just mentioned, Jared Goff just got a new contract, Justin Herbert, Tua, and Dak are about to get deals. So the numbers continue to go up. And there's no clear evidence or no sign that a bubble is going to burst in the NFL marketplace right now. So owners are trying to take steps to try and keep the costs down. We'll get to that later on in the show and talk about whether that's fair or foul. Rising and falling, that's how we'll end, as we always do on a Thursday night, except it's not a Thursday, or except it's not rising and falling. It would be bounce back. So I've got my days mixed up because we were off yesterday. But either way, it's good to have you guys back and talking about the Tennessee Titans and Will Levis's progression this evening. So there's a lot of different things that I took from this conversation. It's all available at 104.5 The Zone's YouTube channel right now, where they had Levis in studio for an hour. And you've heard Levis talk about a lot of this stuff before. Meeting Brian Callahan, the process of learning the offense, what the offseason has been like. He's been a very busy guy, right? He's been all over the place in the sports calendar with the Super Bowl, his poker tournament appearance. He's playing in the Live Golf Pro-Am today with Phil Mickelson, among other people. It's been a crazy calendar year for Will Levis, and he's clearly enjoying the ride. But with all of this, it's still important to talk about the places where he can take these critical steps and all the different things that are going to factor in. And one part of that conversation stuck out in particular to me, which we will highlight for you this evening. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. Welcome into the show. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the wonderful people at Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer, quality American-made Ford vehicles, or award-winning customer service. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. TrueMav Fitness in the Gulch. Tomorrow is Friday. It'll be an Arm Farm Friday at TrueMav Fitness. Can't wait to get back into my routine with the great coaching staff there. Your first workout is free at TrueMavFitness.com. And Zen Sports. Download the app. Plug in the promo code ATOZTN. Get up to $100 on your no danger first wager in the Zen Sports app. Promo code ATOZTN for all your favorite major sports. We have one game of the NHL Stanley Cup final to play, not tonight, but tomorrow. So we'll have to wait on that. But Major League Baseball, always available to you to bet on and get your fix. Cordy Jackson says Levis is about to be catapulted into super stardom this season. Sit back and watch the show. Well, that's important for a couple of different reasons. First and foremost, Jeffrey Simmons is the biggest star on the Tennessee Titans. Could we say? I think that you might already argue that because Will Levis is a quarterback, he is a more famous player to your average NFL fan than Jeffrey Simmons might be. An SEC quarterback who was not a first-round pick, but had a famous fall out of the first round into the second, goes to the Tennessee Titans, where he does not have much success in his rookie season. He's on a bad football team and they struggle, but he's still a quarterback and he's still been in the news cycle for a long time. Now, Jeff is the best player on the Titans football team right now. DeAndre Hopkins is definitely the most career famous. So you could argue that Hopkins is the most famous Tennessee Titan. But Will Damn Levis, as Ann Herndon points out, has a little bit more gravitas because of the position that he plays. So when you're talking about star power and filling the void, because it is about winning football games first and foremost. If you win football games, the rest of it will come. But there are not many players that your average NFL fan would identify with the Tennessee Titans right now. If you ask the average NFL fan where L'Jarius Sneed plays, they'd probably still say the Chiefs. Jeff Simmons and DeAndre Hopkins are probably the two most famous Titans right now. Will Levis, if he has not surpassed them, is a close third to those two. And I bet many people would struggle to tell you that DeAndre Hopkins was on the Titans, because when you have a poor football team and you're not in the red zone very often, as they rarely were as a red zone offense, you're not on red zone, you're not in primetime games, and you start to fade from the public consciousness other than fantasy football. And, even then people associate the Tennessee Titans most still with Derrick Henry. I think that with Will Levis, he has the opportunity to not just take over as a starting quarterback, but become the next bona fide Tennessee Titans star here. There are all the pieces to the puzzle for this to be a success. The question is whether or not he will be able to put together his talent in a system that allows him to be the most well-rounded version of the quarterback position. Now, this is something that he talked about with 3HL today, and you're going to hear a portion of that interview. The question that we are going to ask you, your Two Rivers Ford take: what from Levis's rookie season most prepared him for 2024? You can give your answer, what you saw from Will Levis's season that you feel most prepared him for this upcoming opportunity to be the full-time bona fide Titan starter. Let me know in the comment section on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. We'll talk about it together right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by the South's most trusted Ford dealer. That's Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet. Quality American-made Ford vehicles and great offers, especially this month. $8,000 off on a 2024 Ford Expedition when you go to Two Rivers Ford during the month of June. That's $8,000 on your next vehicle. Two Rivers Ford always has the best vehicles at the best prices. All their new non-specialty Fords sold below MSRP. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com for more information. So Will Levis and the progress that he needs to make. What is critical to his success? Well, there's a lot of different things that are factored into this. Veteran wide receiver help. They checked that box this offseason. Not just with Hop's presence, but adding Tyler Boyd and Calvin Ridley. A quality offensive line piece, which I believe they have in Lloyd Cushenberry, a proven one. J.C. Latham, who has all the upside in the world, basically investment in the offensive line in front of Will Levis that may not be great in year one, may not even be good in year one, but will be at least serviceable, which is not something that he had at his disposal last year as a rookie. They were the worst pass blocking group in the NFL last season and one of the worst offensive lines top to bottom. So they made the investment in the offensive line. They made the investment in the veteran wide receiver help, and they hired an offensive-minded head coach who's never been a head coach before, never been an offensive play caller before, but in theory has all the tools necessary to succeed, and a veteran coaching staff in place under him that will support him, including his father, who has been an offensive coordinator and a head coach, both at the D1 major college football level and in the NFL, where he did coach against the Titans, as a matter of fact, in an AFC championship game. So all these different boxes were checked by the Titans trying to support Will Levis. So now it's incumbent upon Will Levis to adapt as best he can to the situation. One reason to be optimistic about Will Levis's ability to adapt: he has found ways to succeed in 5 different offensive systems, 5 different offensive coordinators, maybe not a different offensive system every time, but with 5 different coaches calling the plays for him in 2 years at Penn State, 2 years at Kentucky, and now heading into year 2 in Tennessee. 2 offensive coordinators in the pros, 2 at Kentucky, 2 at Penn State before he transferred to become the Wildcats' starting quarterback. His ability to adapt and evolve within the systems and the coaches that he plays for is critical because that's life in the NFL. Not a lot of people have to deal with that in college unless they have success, like Liam Cohen, who was able to have a great year with the Kentucky Wildcats as the offensive coordinator for Will Levis. And a lot of guys, including Wan'Dale Robinson, who went pro from that offense, went on to get a job in the pros, is now went back to college last year, I believe, and then is now back in Tampa Bay in the professional ranks. So Liam Cohen continues to be opportunistic, trying to get, I think, a higher caliber job. But when you have success, jobs turn over at a much more frequent rate. So his ability to adapt and adjust through all of these different things is going to be critical to this. And it's a reason for optimism about him working in Brian Callahan's system when he describes the ease of use that comes with it.
All right, Brian Callahan offense. Talk to us about that process, meeting him, like kind of diving into what he did on tape, and then trying to get everything acclimated.
Yeah, meeting him from the jump, him showing his trust in me, and knowing that when I have the keys to this thing, that I'm gonna be able to get it done. So right off the bat, like going through his philosophy and how he sees a game and how he calls it, and just kind of running through a game and just feeling the flow of the game and the play calls and what we're looking for in terms of against what. And it just makes sense. And a lot of plays and a lot of concepts where, it seems like it shouldn't be as easy as it is in terms of, this is the guy that we were thinking about throwing to. You're thinking about it all the time. And most of the time it's just there. So the game has become comfortable for me, and I feel like I've done a good job of being able to compartmentalize the offense and figure out what we're trying to get done with it.
We mentioned 5 years in a row you've had a different offense. I told Slay, I know it's 5, maybe it's more. I don't know, but does that make it easier to kind of get your feet into it?
Yeah, no, I think just because I've done it before. Yeah. I think I've refined my process throughout the years on how I want to learn things, but feel comfortable learning new things and taking coaching and going out on the field with it.
How different is it? I mean, you've got 2 running backs now that had more than 50 targets apiece last year. I mean, just looking at how things were done in Cincinnati with this offense, it looks dramatically different from our perspective, but how different is it?
I mean, I'm not going to say it's too different. I'm not going to say like we're going to be throwing the ball around the yard, every single play, but it does seem like it'll be a little bit more, pass heavy, which is fun for me. Mm-hmm. Throwing the ball on first down and just keeping the defense a little more on their toes, and especially when we have running backs, like you said, that can catch the ball and
can run route
be so dynamic out of the backfield.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're going to have to figure out as the camp goes on and throughout preseason who our guys are, who's best at what, and we won't really know exactly what the offense is going to mold into until we start seeing who shows up.
That's Will Levis on with 3HL today. He spent a whole hour in studio with them. You can check it out on the 104.5 The Zone YouTube channel. Subscribe while you're there. A to Z Sports Primetime is presented by TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch. First workout free at TrueMath Fitness. Like I said, tomorrow, Arm Farm Friday. It is one of the best workouts, one of the most intense workouts, but one of my favorites that TrueMav offers. It's one of several options that they offer, including group fitness classes. Tomorrow's a personal training day because they offer great personal training sessions, and your first workout is free as a Middle Tennessee resident when you tell TrueMav Fitness that A to Z Sports sent you. They are big Titans fans at TrueMav. You can get the best workout in Middle Tennessee at TrueMavFitness.com. Sign up for one of their memberships today. You'll love it. Corey D. Jackson says, that's my quarterback. Dirk on YouTube says, Titans will win Super Bowl 59, 20-0. Tighten up, he says. Amar, the mailman himself, indeed. So, Levis, it gives you some reason for optimism there about why this should work, why it looks like it has the potential to make life a lot easier on him. A quote that jumped out in particular to me, and I wrote about this at A2Zsports.com, is when he said, I feel like I've done a good job of being able to compartmentalize the offense and figure out what we're trying to get done with it. A lot of the plays and a lot of the concepts where it feels like it shouldn't be as easy as it is in terms of this is the guy, that we're thinking about throwing to. You're thinking about it all the time, and most of the time it's just there. So the game has become comfortable for me. That's Will Levis on 3HL. He may not hit the ground running, right? He may not be perfect right out of the gates. He may not, he may not go 6 straight weeks without an interception or anything like that. The Titans may struggle out the gate because there's a lot of new. And none of this has been tested really yet, offensively or defensively, head coach or defensive coordinator, quarterback or L'Jarius Sneed, Tavondre Sweat or Calvin Ridley. All of this is very, very much new. So I think that with the Titans, there is reason for optimism, but I think it should still be cautious because, like, we've talked a lot about the offensive line. They've done a lot of work on the offensive line. But does that mean that the Titans will have a great offensive line in 2024? Probably not. It's probably going to take a minute. The progress that they have, the tools at their disposal, all of it bodes well as an ascending product, but it can't just be, a 90-degree turn all of a sudden. It has to ease into this thing a little bit. It has to slowly curve in the correct direction as they get more reps, as they get live game action, as they even get practice reps with pads on. So Jack Ripper throwing all caution to the wind, saying we win 11 games. Well, I mean, listen, if the over-under win total right now is 6.5. If the Titans win 11 games, something has gone spectacularly right, unexpectedly right. Because I think 6.5 is low for sure. I think 6.5 is low, but I don't know that I would bet them. I would probably take them at over 7.5 if you set the win total there. I think I would obviously take them over if I was able to bet on the NFL. I would probably bet them. I would bet them over the 6.5. I would bet them over the 7.5. 8.5 feels a bit rich for my blood, but we'll see. I think this team is completely capable of being 8 to 9 wins and pushing for a wild card spot. I think that's a completely reasonable expectation. And I think anything above that right now is just pure projection. 9 games easy, says Corey D. Jackson. I think they're capable of 9 games. I don't know if it's going to be easy. Like I said, easy is the thing that holds me up there. Nothing is easy in the NFL, even when it should be the easiest thing in the world. So their schedule is a 4th place schedule. They don't play AFC South games really until pretty much November, where they get into a stretch where they have 5 of the 6 AFC South games in the last 8 weeks that they play. It's crazy. So I think that the word easy for me is the holdup. But I understand why all of the things that you're seeing right now would lead you to be optimistic about that. Jack says, I can't see it not working. I don't know. I can see the vision and it looks great on paper. Yeah, but who gives a shit about what's on paper? On paper, you should have easily been able to find a better left tackle than Dennis Daly last year. And what happened? You got a worse left tackle, the worst left tackle, arguably in professional sports, a left tackle that allowed 41 pressures in 12 total games and was benched thrice, 3 times in an NFL season. So don't ever tell me that in sports you can't see it not working. Of course, any number of things can go wrong that would lead to that situation. Do you remember in 2021, the Titans were 12-5? Do you remember that? Yeah, I covered that entire season. I was there. It was equally spectacular as it was stupid. And then I was there for the Cincinnati Bengals playoff game when they shit the bed royally in front of a crazy crowd that just felt like they had gotten a bomb dropped on them. It was wild. So with all of that, yes, I'm cautiously optimistic, but 9 games is a good starting point. If they improve by +3 in the win column and Levis is a big part of that, then you will have had a successful season by any measure. They are going to be meaningfully competitive this year, but meaningfully competitive is not contending for Super Bowls. Contending for Super Bowls is what the Texans are preparing to do. You may be preparing to do that in future seasons. If you get there earlier than the rest of us expect, it will be because something has gone way ahead of schedule. Right now, I think that it's reasonable to take expectations down a peg. Taylor Hurst says, Buck always taking the safe bet. No, it's the most realistic. Safest, most realistic, whatever. I just think it's stupid to get in here, scream, the Titans are going to win 12 games and beat Patrick Mahomes and be the thing that keeps him from going to a third straight Super Bowl when all they've done is hire a coach who's never done it before, with a quarterback who was 3-6 last year, and an offensive line that just got together for the first time and is starting probably at least one of the 5 players that was objectively terrible in 2023 with Peter Skoronski. We'll see if NPF or Daniel Brunskill start, and all of them are probably going to play, right? So this is still a team that is thin, a team that is without question much, much more talented. But don't get in here and get punch drunk with it just because you won the offseason. Winning the offseason doesn't mean shit. Winning the offseason is lovely because everything feels good on paper. You can't lose on paper until you come out there in week 1 and all of a sudden a rookie quarterback in Caleb Williams is giving you a lot more trouble than you expected, and your new secondary is having to figure out some things because it's the first time they've actually played together in real live game reps with a first-time defensive coordinator. Not saying that the Titans are going to be a bad team. I just don't know that you can jump from being above average potentially, which I think they have the potential to be, to 11, 12 games, winning the division. Who are the Texans? They're a joke. That's stupid. That's completely unrealistic. So, yeah, if the safer bet is the most realistic bet, then, yeah, that's the way to discuss this thing. So, moving on. Quarterback cap, because there is a conversation about one. Fair or foul? The idea that the NFL would impose a quarterback salary cap. So, what does that mean? That means that a percentage, teams would be capped at a certain percentage of their salary cap. So let's say 25% of the salary cap. You are not allowed to spend more than 25% of your salary cap on a quarterback in, future seasons. The league is talking about this, and you'll hear from Tom Pelissero on it in just a second, right after I remind you the question is fair or foul. An NFL quarterback salary cap. We'll talk about it together in just a second, right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by Zen Sports. Hockey is almost over. The NBA has concluded, but Zen Sports is still your favorite place to make the betting experience even better. Promo code ATOZTN, up to $100 on your no danger first wager. Terms and conditions do apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Must be 21 plus and in the state of Tennessee to bet at Zen Sports. Quarterback salary cap, fair or foul? What is your position on this? Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network did an appearance on The Rich Eisen Show and talked about this very idea.
There's been discussion within the league, Rich, among certain owners about even the idea of a quarterback cap, that at some point you want quarterback numbers to not go over a certain percentage of your salary cap. To my knowledge, that really hasn't gained traction, in part because so many teams have paid their quarterbacks. And if you went to suddenly an NBA model where all of a sudden you have the max and the super max, and there's really only a couple levels that guys can get paid at, it kind of changes the dynamics in terms of how you set yourself up salary cap wise and whatnot. So absolutely, there's been a discussion about exactly what you're talking about, which is, how are we paying this much money to this position and to certain guys just because they're the next one up? And that's where that Trevor Lawrence contract for some people is going to be one of those moments where Trevor Lawrence matching Joe Burrow as the highest paid player in NFL history, given a little bit of the inconsistency we've seen from Trevor Lawrence, the fact that he and the Jaguars did not play well down the stretch last year, it does give some people pause, but it's also a reflection that the quarterback market, like the salary cap, is going to continue to go up. So the longer you wait, the higher these numbers are probably going to be, absent what you're talking about, which would be some team convincing a player to take a sub-market deal, which is really hard to do in 2024.
And you also open yourself up to, listen, a contract like Trevor Lawrence given in that way, to somebody whose resume might not be as decorated as your quarterback, who may be up soon, but it's Shad Khan's team, right? And it's Trent Baalke's salary cap to figure out. And if the owner's like, I love this kid, He's done everything. I want to, sure, if we can we go a little higher, then have him match Burrow, because I kind of want to walk around saying I've done right by my guy, and I think that actually might be a metric that gets us through a tough game, because he believes that we have his back. And we did the same thing similar to Josh Allen, and so you open yourself up to that owner doing that thing. The Jaguars are going along their merry way. And it's somebody else's bag to hold now. They don't care. Why would they? So where do things stand with Jordan Love as we speak right now? Because Jordan Love is like, he damn near made the NFC Championship game in his first foray. You know?
Yeah, you don't have as big of a track record on Jordan Love just because it's a 1-year starter, but he was playing at a very high level the back half of last season into the playoffs. That last interception notwithstanding, I think that it's a lot like Tua, where the Trevor Lawrence numbers come in. And while previously you could say, well, Joe Burrow's been to a Super Bowl, we're not going to want to go above Joe Burrow, but we'll get you in right underneath. Now, all of a sudden, it's Trevor Lawrence got 55. Why isn't Jordan Love getting substantially more than that? I believe he's due like $11 million this season as part of that bridge contract he did a year ago, which gave him a raise in 2023 and it's effectively bought out his 2024, what would have been the option year. There's no way Jordan Love, in my estimation, is playing for $11 million this year. I do believe that they are going to figure out that contract, but no question, every time one of these deals get done, the other ones become more expensive. There's not a lot of occasions in recent NFL history, especially at the quarterback position, where you wait and the price becomes better, which of course brings us to the whole Jerry Jones leaves falling and all that good stuff, that all of a sudden his quarterback, whether it's in Dallas or otherwise, is probably quite possibly going to be in line to be the first $60 million man.
$60 million for a quarterback is insane. Insane. But we're not that far away. So fair or foul is the question. A quarterback percentage of cap tax, essentially, is what the NFL owners are talking about. Not instituting yet, because the money hasn't gotten quite there, but we're not far away from it. By the time Will Levis, if things go to plan for Will Levis, by the time it's Will Levis's turn to get paid in 2025, he'll be extension eligible. We could be talking about $60 to $65 million a year just for a Trevor Lawrence type of resume, because what else are you going to do at quarterback? It's crazy. So I understand the concept. I'm not a financial analyst, so I'm not going to pretend to know all the different implications of it. I would think, though, that if the cap itself continues to rise, then there is no real reason to cap the quarterback contracts necessarily, although there is zero sign that the NFL's bubble is going to burst in any time in the near future. So even with this, I mean, we haven't really even gotten into the streaming money yet for the NFL. There's not entire seasons being broadcast with partnerships on Amazon Prime and Apple TV and things like that. But that's not too far into the future. So as long as that payday is looming out there perpetually, that is what the players are worth. They're the entertainment and should be compensated as such. All right, weekend bounce back. Who needs to bounce back most in sports this week? Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. Let me know about it. We'll talk together right after I remind you that the Primetime Show is presented by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. GaryAshton.com. Get your dream address without the stress. Get the Intel Edge you need to succeed, only with the official real estate agent of the Nashville Predators. That's the Ashton Real Estate Team. Florida Panthers need a bounce back, says Bryce Erickson. He says after blowing a 3-0 lead in the Stanley Cup final, they are now still leading the series 3-2, but with a huge Game 6 getting ready to take place. Ching Bing says not sports related. Drake, my God, Kendrick Lamar hosting a Juneteenth concert at the Forum last night. The visuals on social media looked unbelievable. Unbelievable. It felt like a bit of a coronation ceremony for Kendrick Lamar after unofficially just rocking Drake's world in the rap beef. Corey D. Jackson says, my Lakers need to bounce back. Let's go J.J. Redick. Yeah, J.J. Redick becoming the next head coach of the Lakers is going to be fascinating. LeBron saying he had zero involvement. Nobody believes that. Of course, they're podcast co-hosts. How could he have zero involvement? I refuse to believe it. So who needs to bounce back most in sports? Well, I think that Bryson DeChambeau does, because I don't know what the logic is. I'm sure he had a good explanation, but taking the U.S. Open Cup down Broadway while you are, somebody's being proposed to live on the Olympic Trails on NBC. That's really, really cool. Taking the U.S. Open Cup down Broadway because he's in town for the Live Golf event this weekend at College Grove is an insanity. The fact that nobody even paid any mind to him, nobody even recognized him, nobody paid attention to him, it seems, is even funnier.
So cool. There he is. He's carrying his trophy.
Just wandering into Aldean's, carrying the U.S. Open Cup. Going to meet George Kittle apparently for a drink because Tight End U, of course, is in town. A lot of those dudes playing in the Live Golf Pro-Am. Levis played in it. I saw Kittle played in it. Who else? Forsberg playing in the Live Golf Pro-Am today. So pretty interesting to see. Always a fun. I'm looking for it. I'm going to try and check it out on Saturday if I can, if I have some time. Sounds like it's a little bit of a drive, but not too bad. Should be a pretty unique event. All right, it's going to do it for us tonight. Radio show tomorrow. Coach Dave McGinnis will be on with us. We'll look forward to talking Titans offseason with him. Have a great rest of your evening. Join us tomorrow from 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone. Oh, Bert, that reminds me, we need to figure out what we're doing for the podcast tomorrow. We will endeavor to do so. Have a great rest of your evening. Prime time. We'll meet with you next on Sunday night. See y'all.